With Kroger brand products from Baker's, you can make all your favorite things this holiday season. Because Kroger brand's proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, Kroger brand has all your favorite things. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
Hey guys, it's Christine from Storyworthy. Today on the show, the talented comedian April Macie talks about the recent travel ban and her husband not being allowed into the country.
I never really knew the value of an American passport until you travel with somebody where the passport opens the wrong way. And then my husband, they went through everything of his. Like, he had to get stuff out of the trunk. They wanted his library card, like whatever he had on him. And then they just let me in. They're like, look at her. She's American. Look how stupid she looks. Let her in. She's not going to hurt anybody. We were told that because of the presidential proclamation, the travel ban, my husband, 2 weeks after our wedding, would not be coming home with me, that he was not allowed in the country.
Today on the show, comedian April Macie cracks me up and shares stories about Europe, the travel ban, and her new life in quarantine. Stay close.
Hey, this is April Macie, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show of almost 10 years, it'll be 10 years in July, April.
Wow, that's impressive. Wow.
I don't know if it's impressive, but my stubbornness is. Or if you're a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with Madeline Smithberg. Now, Madeline Smithberg, she was the co-creator of The Daily Show, along with Liz Winstead. Did you know her, April, or have you met Madeline?
No, I haven't. Was she a comic before producer?
No, she was a producer on Letterman for many, many years. Anyway, won a bunch of awards and then created The Daily Show with Liz Winstead.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing.
So last week on the show, she was super funny. She told a story about booking acts for the Letterman show, and she booked an act called Border Collies Herding Sheep. So she went to the state fair and she got this guy who knew how to, who had these dogs. And anyway, it's a fabulous story, super funny. Then we talk a lot about The Daily Show. Anyway, you guys, great show. Go back, listen to that, but not today. Not today, because today I'm here with a very, very talented female. God, that was terrible. Today I'm here with a very, very, very talented comedian, April Macie, and I almost slipped and said something like female comedian, which is so gross.
Somehow we're in just a different category. It's very strange how, especially sometimes how you're brought up on stage is always confusing. Like, we got something different. We got a lady.
That is like such a ridiculous thing to say. But I guess what I'm getting ahead of myself, because April, I just listened to your entire album, No Shame.
Yes.
And I've seen you on stage before. But man, oh man, that album is so good.
Oh, thank you.
I was laughing so hard, and I have headphones on, and my daughter's like, let me hear it. And I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, your daughter?
She's actually 13, but it's still,
It's a lot for 13 adolescents.
Yeah, it really is. Your stuff, though, man, if you guys haven't seen April's stand-up, you're just so talented. You just command a room. And I guess the reason why I almost put female in front is because I'm thinking about, there just aren't a lot of you, particularly, April.
What do you mean? A lot of ladies comics are a lot of me just being like a lunatic.
No, what I meant to say though about when I said female comic is just because like, okay, I have done a lot of comedy. I'm not nearly on your level, but I've been around a lot of comedy for like 25 years. And there are not that many women as commanding as you. That's all.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment.
I think early on, that was just something I realized I had to do. Otherwise, I would be walked on stage. I think as soon as you get on stage as a female comic, there is the audience, you can feel them recoil a little bit where they're like, oh boy, here we go. Like you have to settle them in and make them immediately feel comfortable. And I think the only way to do that is, especially if you're like, for years when I was a younger female comic, to show them that you're the one in the position of power and control, you have to be instantly assertive. Or I think there's a lot of certain type of men that they're not that comfortable sort of relinquishing that power to you to tell them what's funny. So you have to be assertive or you'll be bowled over, I think.
Well, that's very interesting because it definitely is a technique. Because when you're called on stage, and I also watched you in that Snoop Dogg special. And when you're called on stage, it's like, you come on, you take the microphone and it is on, man. Like nobody's heckling here. It's not going to happen.
No, I don't invite hecklers. Because I think also like people are more comfortable, especially men, heckling a woman. Like I think that if you go out and a guy's with like a certain type of guy, there are millions of great guys out there, but there's a certain type of guy that feels threatened as soon as there's a woman on stage telling him, because you're the one in power, you have the microphone, everybody else is turned towards you, telling him what's funny or what he's supposed to deem funny. And I think a lot of times in front of their women, they're just not that comfortable giving it up. So I think I take on a much more masculine energy just to make them more comfortable with my presence, maybe.
No, it's true because the audience, starts, I think the word is raucous. They're like raucously laughing, like they're guffawing and people are hooting and hollering. Seriously, like I don't mean to compare it to a man, but I'm just telling you the energy I'm feeling. It's almost either like dice clay, but
Yeah.
you're not ignorant like that. Or it's
For my next special, I'm just going to do a lot of sexist nursery rhymes. I think that's my big plan. Special number 2, just gear up Mother Goose and start swearing in between.
I saw Dice Clay like 21 years ago, long time ago, because I just moved to LA at the Comedy Store, and I watched him walk every person in the room.
Wow.
Until I left and there were only like 4 people.
Wow. I do think part of comedy also, like maybe my approach as a comedian is I think it's for them. Like you think about what everybody's going through now, to have somebody want to come out, spend their entertainment dollars for 2 tickets, 2 drink minimum, that's 4 drinks, maybe a babysitter, maybe they haven't been out in months. I think it's kind of to walk a room for people that put on a dress and like paid to see a show. I think you're doing yourself and the audience a disservice. Like it is I'm not one of those comedians that like, it's my art, it's my wiener jokes are for me. Where I'm like, no, it's for them. They paid and people want to escape and laugh. So
yeah.
So
for sure. Well, you have an incredible career, April. I'm so impressed. I was in New York back in December in what we call now the good old days. And I saw your poster right there in Times Square at, is it Caroline's right there? Yeah. And just so great. Yeah. And like I said, I just listened to No Shame. And then I also watched the Tiffany Haddish special that you were on. So you're doing just great. And I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, now with the pandemic, I'd like to hear more, but I'm just saying in your career.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been doing comedy exactly?
About 18 years. It seems like a long time. 18, I think I started around 2002 because I got, I was in New Face after about 2.5 years. I got New Faces in Montreal in 2005. And I think I'd been doing comedy almost 3 years at that point. I got things really early, like 2.5 years in, I was a new face, and then I got Last Comic Standing after about 3.5, and I started making my living as a headliner after about 4 years. And I've been making a living since 2006. So
That is really impressive, but it's also so deserving because you obviously have an attitude, you've got the point of view, you got all the things they say make the components, and then you just listen to the audience and they're losing their minds. So anyway, congratulations on being such a great
Aw.
comic, really.
thank you.
I love comics, I love comedians, and you are really something else. So great. Also, by the way, we're both from Pennsylvania, the Keystone State.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice. Easton Allentown. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. I got Billy Joel on our side. You guys have the Steelers.
that's right. It's a long state, isn't it?
Yeah. Probably about a 7-hour drive to Pittsburgh from where I am.
And what exit were you off of?
I mean, if I'm coming from, I usually fly into Newark Airport, and then I get on 78, and I get off on the Phillipsburg, New Jersey exit through Easton. That's
It's so funny. It's so funny how different towns have different directional signals and stuff. Like where I'm from in Pittsburgh, they have this old system of the roadways that is a belt system. Like there's a belt, like it's a red belt or the green belt or the yellow belt. And my mother, she's 85 almost, she'll still go by those belts. So, if there's somebody from out of town, my mom would be like, well, you just take the yellow belt to the red belt, get off of the green belt. It's like, what are you talking about?
just use Waze. Just use Waze.
Oh, yeah, for sure at this point. Anyway, I'm just super happy that you're on the show today, and I'm anxious to hear your story. Now, today, you guys, April's topic is travel ban. Travel ban. So obviously, it's something about maybe being stuck somewhere. I'm not sure. I think about people, though, now who got stuck on those cruise ships. Jesus Christ, that would suck. Being on one of those ships and you can't land, as it were, or whatever.
Can't leave. Yeah. There's a comic friend of mine who I did Last Comic Standing with who was stuck on. She was quarantined for a few weeks after Kristen Key. So I think she did a lot of knitting on a military base for a few weeks getting off that cruise ship.
Yeah, well, the rooms are tiny, and then, the food, I think it would just be maddening. It would be horrible.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. No, my husband's Iranian, so our travel ban was dealing with one of the 7 countries that trying to deal with immigration stuff for the last few years with my husband. So
what a nightmare.
No, it wasn't. It is a nightmare.
All right, you guys, before we get to April's story, I did want to remind you to find me on the social media at Storyworthy. Would you do that? It's so simple. It's so easy. Do that. Especially the Twitter. I really enjoy the Twitter. April, do you like Twitter?
I used to, but now I just use it for hostile United posts. Most of my Twittering is just like being angry on an airplane, and then I forget about Twitter, and then I come back just to make some wildly angry, I'm United screwing me again post, and that's it. And then I scroll through, and I'm like, who would follow this? This is obnoxious.
Twitter is like that. There's a lot of angry people, but for some reason, I like it so much. I don't know. I like words, and I like, I don't know. I like cleverness, and I guess it depends on, like you said, it depends on are you following, who is following you, all that stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Like, I guess I'm way more of an introvert. Like, I don't feel like off stage I need that level of attention for like I'm always amazed comics that are always on Instagram story, and I'm like, who gives a shit that you're eating a fucking banana? Like, who cares? Like, as I'm swiping through, they're like, nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. So when I'm making an Instagram story, I just imagine somebody furious on the other end, like watching my piece of shit story and my ridiculous life, like petting my dog and smoking weed in bed. Like, nobody cares. When did we live your life? Go garden.
Number one, I care. That's for sure. No.
Okay, but like when you watch somebody, like sometimes I'll watch some comics and I'm like, this broad has 1,400 posts for her story of her like jazzercising with her fucking dog. And you're like, God damn it. Oh, live.
I totally know what you mean. I've never jumped on the Instagram story thing. I do the wall part, like where things go on the wall and it just stays there. Yeah, I don't really know how to connect the stories.
It makes me mad. And now that TikTok, I'm like, what? Now I'm 40 and I gotta fucking do dances like I'm in 6th grade. Me and my husband have to choreograph in our off time. Like you can't just read a book. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then there's a new one. I'm like, ah, there's a new one.
It really is maddening. So I think social media is just one of those things you have to pick and choose and put your energy in where you want to, and then just blow off the rest. And nobody's going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
I will say, because I do teach people social media and I do people's accounts sometimes, especially to kick them off. What it is you need like, I'm sorry to tell you this. No, you need a presence, not you, April, but people need a presence on these different places. And then from there, you direct them where you want to go. So you don't have to use Instagram. You don't have to use TikTok. You don't have to use these things, but you should have an account there because they're free. And then in the bio, you direct them where you do want them to go.
Redirect them. Like Instagram, I get, but it's also like a level of narcissism that I think is just so damaging. As I'm like looking through photos and I'm like, no, I'm not posting some mangled photo like I look like right now with a greasy top knot and like crud in my eye. It's like heavily retouched and you're like, it's this weird version of yourself that doesn't even truly exist. You're like, nobody looks like that. Why do you all look like avatars with these weird smooth faces? And now you have Gucci symbols on your eyes. Like, I don't get it. I don't.
The other thing that's so crazy about Instagram is when all the photos of the people that are in those positions, they do the duplicate photo or the duplicate expression every time.
Or like there's some where you're like, it's like, okay, so I have like an occasional bikini photo where you're like, even working out for a few months before my wedding, I was in good shape. But if your like asshole is on Instagram every day, like women that post photos where you're like, you're a comic, why is your asshole? Why every day do we need to see your asshole? Why? We already saw your asshole. We can scroll through. See, your last week ass, unless it's a totally different ass, unless it's like on Sunday you get like a new ass, then I think you got to stop. Sunday ass.
I'm not sure what it is, but everybody for himself, everybody does their own thing. I have no idea, man.
I've been inside too long, so I'm getting more hostile as the days go on.
For me, it's been since I keep thinking it was like March 13th. Do you know what your date was? Like you were like, okay, I got to take this seriously.
I flew back. I did shows in Arkansas on the 13th and 14th. I flew back to LA on the 15th, but I was in Europe. My mom almost got stuck in Poland. I went and did a comedy festival in the Netherlands in the beginning of March, like right when it we were kind of making jokes about it. Like I never thought it would hit the way it did, or maybe there was a lightness to it in America. And so my mom and we were supposed to, my husband and I have a home in Florence, Italy. So we were supposed to go back to Italy, but then we like rerouted our plans just based on coronavirus. I was like, well, Italy's not a good time. And like, we have a house there that I was going to go and like check on the house. And so we rerouted through Eastern Europe. We did Prague, and my mom almost got stuck in Poland. They started shutting down and canceling flights, and I had to like extract my mom from Krakow. So all I needed was my alcoholic mom stuck in Poland for 2 months, drinking vodka and eating pierogies.
That's so funny. Maybe she would have liked that. I mean, that doesn't sound all that bad.
She would have, but I would have footed the bill for those pierogies.
All right, you guys, she's here right now. April Macie, you're so darn funny. You are a headlining touring comedian, like we said. And right now you've got this new Netflix stand-up series called They Ready, which is produced by Tiffany Haddish. And like you already mentioned, you were a finalist on NBC's Last Comic Standing, and you've appeared just on all sorts of programs all over the place. And one thing of note is, gosh, I guess everybody says this, but it's true. In 2008, Howard Stern, who I adore, voted you the funniest and the hottest comedian in America. Come on, man. That must have been very, very exciting.
No, it was Howard Stern's one of the most satisfying. Like I have this picture of him and my like, you collect all your things over the years of like specials and different laminates, and I have this picture of Howard Stern laughing at me with this big open mouth like hearty guffaw where his head was back. And I think that picture that I have, it's just like a screen grab from him laughing at me during that contest. It was probably like the highlight of my life, like one of the more satisfying moments to know that you could make him laugh that way.
Absolutely.
No, I have been on Howard Stern 3 times. The first time was the contest, and then I did a second interview for about a half an hour, and then I went back a third time and did like a full 50-minute interview, which was probably the most satisfying. He's the best at what he does. You see why he's like, he can extract anything out of you. He's just such a good interviewer.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. Did you read his book that he put out last summer? Howard Stern Comes Again.
How was it? Fantastic.
It's so good. It's all of his best interviews, and it's extremely thorough and just really a treat. You'll love this book. Really, you should get this.
Okay.
It's hard though. I mean, Howard Stern, he's only been doing his show like 3 days a week. And also he hasn't been on last week. I don't think he's on this week. So it's really disappointing when he's not with us, right?
But I guess it's been like, how many years? 40 years? Like how long has he been? I'd be a little burnt out where you're like, oh, I just want to stay home and bake bread now. Like you're done. I feel like you start tapping out at a certain age. Like, once you've hit that, like he has icon status. Like I think once you attain that level of success, like where else is there to go?
Well, I guess it's that because like we need him in these times. I mean, I'm just saying like he doesn't have to get up at 3 a.m. I keep thinking to myself, why isn't he recording at 10 a.m. to 2 or something? Or like he could make it a little easier on himself. Well, he is recording at home, but I also understand the point that he has everything in the world, including a beautiful wife, and has what he wants. But I guess I just think the other side is, I don't know. The shows he's done have been fabulous. I don't know if you've heard, but with like Whoopi Goldberg and David Letterman, just amazing interviews. Rosie O'Donnell, really good stuff lately.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I haven't been listening.
Well, anyway, enough about Howard Stern. Enough about Howard Stern. April Macie, you have also appeared on David Tell's Comedy Underground. I love David Tell. And on Comedy Central and on Jenny McCarthy's show and on A&E. And you guys can find April over at her website, aprilmacie.com, and of course on Twitter and Instagram at April Macie. In fact, I think I do follow you on Instagram, but now that I know you hate it, I'm going to love it even more.
I think I enjoy to me, traveling's more of a passion. Like I feel like most of my stuff is like travel related photos, and like I just don't know how comics get off stage and they're like, I'm still wacky, aren't I? I'm just not. I just want to enjoy myself and go to Oktoberfest and eat giant pretzels and drink steins of beer and enjoy life.
I knew we would get along because that's exactly how I feel. And if you look at my Instagram, all the pictures are trees.
People never like my trees. You got to get your tits out. You got to get your cans out.
I know. I'm like taking pictures of these flowers and gardens in the neighborhood. And I'm like so middle-aged. It's crazy, but I don't care. That's what I like.
That's what I like too. Like we have this new like patio garden and I'm so excited about like, we watch our tomatoes grow like a couple of town elders. We're like, oh, when did I become a town elder?
I think you should have a garden cam and get it its own Instagram account, and we'll just watch your garden.
Oh, okay. You can watch we put like little grass, like little bits of grass, and the dog goes and he shits on the little you can watch my dog shit on our grass we bought from Home Depot. And
then what do? Spray it off?
You just pick it up off the little grass. Like it's It's pretty cute. I'm not gonna lie. It's like little plot. He's a tiny dog, so it's like you get excited when you see little dog turds on the grass. Like he figured it out. He just likes shitting on grass.
Dude, you've been isolated too long.
There's also a hummingbird nest outside my window, and so I'm super focused. I watch this hummingbird every day, and you lose your mind when you're like, can I just sit here and watch the hummingbird?
No, but that is so true. I happen to live over a baseball field, and every day I watch, the different animals, because now they're not using the baseball field, so the nature's coming in, and I've seen coyotes and geese, and yeah, every day I'm just like, this is like my new activity, like watching the field.
Oh, my neighbor comes and just murders birds with rocks and trees. That's what she does, just flapping birds. There's these beautiful birds, and she's just like hurling rocks at 3 a.m, screaming at them.
It's great to live in the city, isn't it?
We're in Malibu. It's unstable here in Malibu. People are losing their minds.
Do they know if there's any cases of COVID-19 in Malibu?
I think there was a Pepperdine student, but you see them. Like, to me, my husband and I will go to the grocery store, and then you'll see like just 30 kids and a picnic on the Pepperdine lawn. And you're like, all right, guess you guys don't give a shit.
Yeah, well, they're kids. That's the thing. I adore Malibu. I just adore it. I'm glad you live out there. Good for you.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Like I said, you can find April Macie everywhere, and especially look at her website, aprilmacie.com. All right, you guys, whoever you are, put your hands together for April Macie. Yay.
I met my husband about 3.5 years ago. I'd gone through a weird breakup, and I hadn't dated in like 2 years. I was home petting my dog, being weird, not refusing to date. And then my friend told me I was getting very strange, but I eventually had to go out and socialize with other men. So we went on a vacation to Florence, Italy. And I guess I also dress up more when I'm in Europe. So maybe I'm more appealing than this like mangled beast that I currently am. But we went into the store, this little leather store, and my friend asked for restaurant recommendations. And I'm quiet. She's more outgoing. And that's where we met my husband. He gave us restaurant recommendations. And then he followed me like a stalker to the restaurant. We had already gone home because we're middle-aged and tired. So I fell asleep in leather pants that night. He came looking for me. And then the next night, we went back to say thank you for the restaurant recommendations. The gnocchi was quite good, and he asked for drinks, and that's where our budding romance started. So I met my husband. I never expected to get married. I thought I'd die alone as a barren spinster. Like I never thought I'd have anything in my life because I'm part cuckoo. And so we dated about 9 months. He proposed. And after the wedding, my husband's Iranian. So he's lived in Florence since he was 17. And I never really knew the value of an American passport until you travel with somebody where the passport opens the wrong way. You're like, oh, nobody wants this shitty Iranian passport. But after our wedding, we had our immigration appointment. We applied for a K-1 visa, went to the U.S. consulate in Naples, Italy, where we were told that because of the presidential proclamation, the travel ban, my husband would, 2 weeks after our wedding, would not be coming home with me, that he was not allowed in the country. So for the 1 year after that, my husband and I just traveled back and forth. Like I had a marriage where I had to, like a long distance marriage because my husband has a gross passport nobody wants. Trump doesn't want. And then it took me writing a letter. I wrote a letter and got that published with the LA Times. I did an op-ed piece just about our experience because it was our 1 year anniversary and my husband had never been in my home. So that's the only reason that I got our visa right now. So then after we got our visa, it took about 2.5 years. Now he's here. He can't work, which is fun during the pandemic. We have a restaurant in Florence, Italy that's closed, and I have a comedy career that's closed, and he can't work until he gets immigration papers. And I'm surprised I haven't killed myself yet.
So wait a second. So when you were in Italy, did you guys get married in Italy?
We got married in Santorini, Greece on September 2nd, 2018. And then our immigration appointment for our visa, which we had already waited over 1.5 years for, was September 18th, and then our visa was denied on September 18th. We had to file a waiver, which was like, people that go through these immigration processes and they're like, just come the regular way. You don't realize that you spend $20,000 in fucking immigration attorneys and the fees and how many times we've had to travel to Naples, Italy, and how many medical exams, and the fact that we're still we're married and my husband can't work, like he can't leave. You're not like, once you come here, you have a one entry visa. So anybody that says anything about the immigration process, like I feel like if we make it through this, like you're never allowed to be divorced because this was too fucking difficult. You can never leave. This is just, you got to pay back for those immigration attorneys. No, he can't leave now. You have we have a restaurant that in Florence, Italy right now that's closed that he can't go back to based on our immigration policies. And until we get, which the offices are now closed with the pandemic, so I'm sure we won't be getting it it's supposed to be 3 months. I'm sure it'll be more like 7 or 8. We're just sitting here with our thumbs in our assholes. And yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought with that, but
Yeah, I bet. Now, okay, so I see, because I don't know anything about this. So it's not like you guys just get married and you can get him a green card, as it were.
no, it doesn't. You never know. It doesn't work that way. So you file a K-1 visa. So I've had 2 weddings. Like we were legally married. We weren't legally married on September 2nd. We thought we would be legally married because we applied for a fiance visa. So I wanted a normal wedding. I was like, listen, I'm getting fireworks and a cake and a beautiful wedding because I waited for a long time. And so we have this wedding. You think you're coming home with a husband, but then you have this immigration appointment, which was in Italy. And when they denied us, it was a full another year. And we were just getting like standard responses via email. There was no real response to no. You think you're coming home with a husband. You don't think you're going to spend your first year as a married couple separated. And like when I shot my Netflix special, like he wasn't able to be there. I came back to get ready for my Netflix special. And I was like, well, I can't just fly to Italy I didn't see my husband for 3.5 months during the first year of our marriage because I had to get ready for this special. He couldn't be there. It was too expensive to like fly there for 3 days. And so I think it was just writing an LA Times letter that got us that second interview. We had a second interview, had to pay again. And then our visa was issued. But I really just think it was because I was capable. I talked about it on Netflix and I was able to write like an article. That was like the only way we got our visa. And once you get your visa, you have another 6 months to enter the country. So we thought we would like plan out our lives and like figure out what to do with the restaurant. And he has an older dog back in Florence. But then we murdered that Iranian general. And so we were like, you better get here. You're probably not going to be allowed in if there's conflict. So my husband got here in January and now we're dealing with global pandemic. So it went from travel ban to coronavirus, global pandemic. It's a good marriage.
So let me ask you, when exactly do you decide I got to put money out for an immigration lawyer? Because like, to me, it seems like that's not right. So basically you have to prove that all these things and then they have to look at it again and you're paying these fees. Like it all seems so unfair if you're just talking about a mistake that was made, or it's not a mistake. It's the law, I guess, because it's what the ban that Trump put in.
It was the Trump ban. It was, we got an immigration attorney right away. Like, I mean, you don't even realize the value of your American passport until you travel with somebody where it's just a passport nobody wants. Like, we went to Croatia. It was just, when you live in Europe, like I was there a lot. So we would take these cheap flights. We were going to Croatia for the one day. And, you walk up together as a married couple and I lay down my US passport and he lays down his Iranian passport. And the immigration, the guy behind the desk is like, what a crazy combination. We hired somebody right away. There's no way to fill out that paperwork and not hire an immigration attorney. So and the only other real way to get in the States, unless you're married or student visas, like most international students, I don't think people realize you need the full 4 years of tuition. So say like my brother's at USC Film School right now. they want foreigners because they're all rich foreigners. It's not like you're a foreigner who's of middle class who gets to come and study in America. You need to prove that you have 200,000, 300,000 in the bank to get a visa to come and study. Well, you have all these kids that are, I guarantee, motivated, but if you're not coming from wealth, then you're just not getting into America. It's the same, like the only other way we could, other than like the way we're going through it now, which is still a few year process, and you have to prove that it's a bona fide relationship. Like you had all these people coming in, the people that had appointments like the same day as us. First you go do your medical exams and then you go to the US consulate. So you meet the couples the day before from the medical exams, but they were all from like Scandinavian, like blonde heads rolling in. Every blonde head was approved the next day. So they all got to take their husbands or wives or spouses home. But then my husband, who has, tanner skin, I'm like, why are you? It's like, to me, to be afraid of a country that most people can't point to on a map is so foolish. Like you're scared of a country, but you don't know where it is. You only get to be afraid of bears. Like that's your level of intelligence, is bear level.
Bear level.
Bear level. My husband's lived in Italy since he was 17 and he wears skinny jeans and he uses a hair dryer. Like, what are you afraid of? Let him in.
They're afraid of sophistication, I think.
Well, I had a meltdown on like when we were first denied and they hand you that presidential proclamation paper. Like I had a real meltdown in the US consulate and I was going to rip the picture. There's a picture of Trump on the wall. And I turned to my husband and I was like, babe, I'm going to rip that fucking picture down. And he was like, yo, you cannot vandalize Whitey in your entitlement. You cannot vandalize a US consulate.
No, but I hear that rage is so real. I mean, I understand.
Well, the woman was like, the funny thing is everybody else, you come in with your evidence for your relationship and all like the blonde couples came in with like a little file and there's me and my husband with our Iranian just trolley. We've got a wagon of evidence. If you just read through our texts, you know it was a bona fide relationship based on the aggression and hostility in our fights. You're like, no, that's, of course, those are two humans. That
I think it sounds very romantic, that you guys met just 3.5 years ago. You're only together 9 months and then you get married and you open this restaurant in Florence. And I just think it sounds very beautiful.
We got engaged after a year and then we planned a wedding for about a year. So we got engaged married almost 2 years later. And then we waited a year, a little over a year and a half for him to get in the country.
So let me ask you a couple of questions about Santorini. I've been to Santorini and I loved it, of course. I mean, it's fantastic. But tell me about the wedding a little bit. How many people came? And were you like up on that walk where all the it's kind of a little bit touristy. It's a kind of a well-traveled area of Santorini.
We took photos in Ia. That's where I knew I loved my husband. I think we had gone about before we got engaged and we just got this cheap flight. It got in at like 4 a.m. And so I was like, well, let's not get a hotel. We're getting in at 4 a.m. We'll just go watch sunrise and try to get an early check-in. And like when we were watching sunrise, my husband, we just got like a bottle of wine and we were petting stray dogs. And he was like the only guy that I dated that was happy. Like he was just genuinely excited to be up at 4:35 in the morning. And I thought about all the other animals and pieces of shit I had dated before that would have made that experience such a miserable piece of shit experience. And I was like, oh, I think this is my guy. This guy's happy and easy to be around. And then, so that's why we decided to get married in Santorini. So it's my favorite place.
That's such a beautiful story. Now, did you guys, that particular time when you got in at 4 a.m., did you fly in or did you take a boat in, or where did you come from?
No, we flew in. We flew from Rome. It's about an hour and a half flight from Rome. So we just took since we live in Florence, just took a train to Rome, flew in. Because we'll go for 2 days or a day. Like when you live in Europe half the time, it's easy to take like a 45-minute flight to another country, or you can drive and be in Slovenia in 4 hours. So
yeah. It's all very beautiful. And the fact that you can't be there now must be so frustrating.
No.
I've heard about your restaurant over there. It's kind of an Americanized bar restaurant for college kids, really, yeah?
Yeah, for college kids. Get lucky. Plus also expats. You forget when you're there that like if you're going for 4 days or a week to Italy, you want to eat pasta and pizza every day. But after that, when you live there, you're like, I cannot eat another, like, I can't carb load every day. You crave like some American fare. So yeah, we have the Get Lucky Bar and Restaurant in Florence, Italy.
I think it sounds absolutely fabulous. And I know what you mean when you travel. You do want to eat some Americanized things. And rather than going to Pizza Hut or Burger King or whatever, it's nice to find a place that has been turned into something Americanized, like in Mumbai. I was there just briefly, but they've got this restaurant called Leopold's. Have you heard of that? And it's the same thing. It's like where all the expatriates gather and where, they serve, more Americanized stuff. It's really, I think every town probably has that. And you're the one that has it in Florence. I love it.
Yeah, we have it in Florence. And this is my favorite thing about our wedding. I had this coffee table book I had purchased years ago, and I've always wanted, like, my dream is to buy a windmill in Santorini and just retire and not have a car, just ride around on a donkey, just eat feta cheese and have a donkey and watch sunset. So I had this picture opened to this windmill for probably the last 4 or 5 years. It's like my favorite spot in Santorini. And then that's where we spent our wedding night, was this windmill. So that I had this book open to for years.
That is crazy romantic. That is so beautiful. So tell me more about the wedding itself.
The wedding was fantastic. Our wedding planner was a nightmare. Other than that, we had about 55, 60 people in Santorini. We did like a month of family. My family came to Italy for 2 weeks before, and then we hung out with his friends and family. His family also came. Like, our flight from Italy to Santorini, my husband missed his flight because his sister had just had a baby and had a bit of pregnancy brain, and two people forgot suitcases. So my husband ran back to get them. And then, like, they just all, like, 7 of them missed the flight. So there's me weeping on the plane, and like ground control wants to leave, but the pilot, there was like a weird exchange between the pilot that's like, let the groom on the plane. I'm like crying, holding my dress, shaking. My dad's taking photos of me. Like, he's getting yelled at to sit down because I'm weeping. And it was just like, it was a nightmare getting there. And then once we were there, it was just it was fantastic. We did with his friends, after his friends and family. We went to Mykonos and Malta, and the wedding is stunning. The wedding was absolutely beautiful on a cliff, Santo Winery, overlooking the caldera. We had fireworks. Like, if you get married in Greece, the economy is so shitty. You can get a Greek dude to blow his fingers off on a barge for like $400, so you can have fireworks for your wedding. It's great. It's great.
Now, when I was in Santorini, I took a donkey down a mountainside, scared the shit out of me, man. It was totally sure-footed, but I was on top of it and, just getting whacked around. Have you ridden the donkeys?
Yeah, I've ridden the donkeys. I've ridden the donkey from Amudi Bay up to Ia, and then I never have done the donkey from Fira, but I like a donkey. 5 euros. Who doesn't want a donkey?
You crack me up.
I hope those donkeys are like watered and fed. I don't want to be like some asshole where there's some picture of me on a donkey somewhere, like, stop abusing Santorini donkeys. It's just my asshole face, like, happy riding a donkey.
I wouldn't be surprised if definitely PETA has a problem with the donkeys going up and down that trail, because it's very, very narrow. Yeah, they can't be happy about that. Did your husband learn Italian?
Oh, my husband speaks English, Italian, Farsi, Spanish, and then a little bit of French. And I didn't know he spoke Spanish until we went to Barcelona. And I thought, like, hello, like, ciao. Like, I thought he was conversational. Like, I'm an idiot. I just smile and nod most of the time.
Yeah, hola, hola.
Hey! Hey! Smiling.
Wow. And he speaks all those languages. That's so impressive. I love that.
Yeah, it is. It's, and I'm an idiot. Like, forget about Farsi. Like, I'm never learning Farsi. I know the Farsi word for pear is golabi. So if I'm ever like starving in Iran, I can ask for a pear. That's it. That's golabi.
God, it's a long word for pear.
Yeah. I'm never going to learn it. It's too difficult. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's It's a lot of gibberish.
One time, my buddy Hannes, somebody left a message on his answering machine. That's how long ago it was. Left a message on his answering machine, and it was in Farsi. And we kept playing it back and forth because we laughed and laughed and laughed. Like, it was so funny. The guy went on like, like Hannes was the person who spoke Farsi. And so that I remember, and it was very, very funny.
Sounds angry. He always sounds, I'm like, why are you yelling at your mom? And he's like, I'm not. That's just that's how the language sounds. I was like, ugh.
Where does his mom live now? I'm curious.
He lives in Tehran. His sister lives in Orange County by us. She was naturalized as a citizen, I think, about 2 years ago. And then so his mom and dad are both in Tehran.
Have you been?
I haven't been, but I would like to go. I've been to 67 countries. So
wow, that's a lot of countries,
Yeah.
April. I mean, I've been to about 40, but I was a flight attendant. So that's not as unusual. You have been straight up to all those countries, and you've performed excessively, I know, for the troops, right?
Yeah, no, a lot of troops. I've done a lot of international tours. Like, one of my favorites was I did a tour in Southeast Asia, and you would never think, because I think Malaysia, like, comedy is kind of a new art form there. So they're so genuinely excited about it. Like, I loved performing there in Malaysia. I loved performing in Australia. I thought the audiences were really, really smart and attentive, and you do one show a night and you're done, and they seem to still appreciate comedy. I did some gig in the Seychelles for some prince and like 100 prostitutes. That was one of my.
Wait a second. You did a gig in the Seychelles for a prince and 100 prostitutes. Is that true?
No, that's true. A lot of comics. I did it with Tom Rhodes. A lot of comics have done it. I don't know where the guy's from, or maybe I shouldn't say because I'm afraid of, like, if I'm flying Emirates one day, I'll just be murdered. No, there's this. He owns this resort, and he built this entire entertainment complex. I'm not sure what. I mean, I know what part of the Middle East he's from, but I'm scared to say. I'm scared. I'm really scared. But. So no, they fly you. You do a 30-minute show. Like, Tom and I each did 30 minutes, and it's literally this one dude. They're 100 prostitutes, these women that he like imports. Apparently, the whores are tested on a boat. They take them out on a whore boat, and then they get tested for STDs, and then the clean ones are returned. And then they have like some weird, he keeps them entertained. I will say this prince keeps the whores entertained. He imports entertainment, and then they have like a dance party, which the comics are not allowed to attend. You're ushered in a back door, like disgusting help. And then you're like shuffled back out, but you can watch him dance with the whores on a monitor. And apparently all the girls are paid like 10 grand. And then the one he sleeps with that night gets like another 40. And you're like, can I get in on that mix? I get on the whore plan instead of the comic plan.
Wow, man, that is something else. That is something else. Those girls also must be like very, very young, I would assume.
No, you know what's funny is they were surprisingly not that attractive, where you're like, if you're going to pull whores, but I guess if you have to get like a new crop of whores every day, like, how many whores can there be that you have to fly into the Seychelles? But a lot of comics have done this gig. Like, Tom and I aren't the only one. And I'd love to go back. The guy, I think he invited Paula Bell back, and then he wanted me back, but I was scared that maybe I offended him and he wanted to murder me.
Oh my God. Listen, when you go to gigs like that, have you heard them, try to put a limit on what you say? Because your act is pretty dirty.
No, they didn't care about sex joke. It was just they didn't want you to touch on religion or Muslims, and then no politics. I feel like everybody likes wiener jokes, and I feel like I use either clinical words or childish words to kind of make it palatable. Because I think when you're a woman talking about sex, like, unless you're like a hideous beast, people are automatically more offended. Like, if I were like an 80-year-old woman talking about my vag, they'd be like, that's hilarious. But when it's something that's sort of threatening about a woman talking about sex in the same way men assumed they had it on lockdown for so long, that I talk about sex because I honestly don't understand why it's like we're comfortable using women just for objectification and male pleasure. But as soon as a woman tries to take that power back, she's immediately shamed for having any sort of sexual feelings of her own. You're like, no, I'm not. Women aren't just here for your pleasure and amusement.
Yeah, it's so odd. It's It's just so backwards. It's really, you have such a great perspective because you've seen so much, you've been around so much, you've seen different cultures, you've lived in different cultures. And so it gives you a great platform to just start laughing because we're all the same. Like everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to go to the bathroom and then want to eat a meal and everyone wants to put on pants and have a blanket. Like everybody wants the same thing.
Same needs, same. You want to feel accepted and loved, and a sense of you want to feel appreciated. You want to feel that there's somebody that has your back in life. It's not like needs aren't everybody's the same. That's the gift I think that travel gives you is you realize no matter, and I think you realize how fortunate you are as an American. Like the one time my husband and I, we were going from, we flew into Basel in Switzerland and then we were staying, it's like right on the border of France. And so I always leave my passport in the safe because I'm American and white. Nobody's ever given me a problem. So we go to this border check and my husband's like, "Oh, I'll get your passport." And I was like, "Oh no, I left it in the hotel safe." And he was like, "Oh, they're never going to let you in. What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Oh, they're going to let me in." And of course, like, they're like, "Look at her. She's American. Look how stupid she looks. Let her in. She's not going to hurt anybody." And then my husband, they went through everything of his. Like he had to get stuff out of the trunk. They wanted his library card, like whatever he had on him. And then they just let me in.
Yeah, knucklehead. Come on, you crazy girl.
They're like, "Get in here, white lady."
Now, I am curious though. I don't understand. So from Basel, Switzerland, and north to France, what was this checkpoint?
In Basel, you're on the border of France. So part of the airport is in Switzerland and part is in France. So when we rented a car, we rented the car in Switzerland, but our hotel was in France. So it's really just like a border cross, like, and nobody cares because it's obviously it's EU, except for Switzerland still cares. They do. They're like, "We like it here. We don't want you in." So there's like a border. There's like a little street border check. It's like a dude. It's like a dude on the street in like a little booth. It looks like you would throw a quarter at him.
You crack me up, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I can't thank you enough, April.
Thanks. I'm gonna go shower now.
Yeah, well, you got to keep washing your hands. I know that.
Yeah. Gotta hose it down.
You're looking forward though to getting back on the road, aren't you? Or are you kind of like, wait a minute, this is kind of nice. I mean, you want to get to Italy, but
I didn't appreciate my career until it was gone. Honestly, where you like, "Oh, I gotta go to whatever shitty town," and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh God, what else would I do?" Like the idea of working for almost 2 decades and then the entire industry being gone it's really upsetting. We went to social distance with his sister the other day. It was his nephew's birthday. And so we were walking and we walked by the Irvine Improv at the Spectrum. And I never expected to just start crying. Like it was one of the first places where I had like a co-headlining gig, and you see this where I'd gone for years and they're like, "We're taking an intermission, no joke." And I just started crying because I'm like, if it doesn't come back, I'm not at a place to reinvent myself at this point. I've worked on this for 20 years. And to think of my career as being gone and futile it's pretty overwhelming.
have you tried to do the Zoom shows? I mean, in terms of, because now the Improv and Flappers, those guys are trying to get some shit together or they're trying to get shows together. And then there are like, I'm doing a show on Thursday night where it's like, I'm just on the show. I'm not the producer, but they're asking for donations. I would think they'll get something. Have you considered doing anything like that from home?
No, I did initially, and then there's part of me that it just makes me sad. Like right now, sitting in my bed, it's not comedy. It's just not stand up. It's the feeling that palpable feeling of laughter that comes back. That it's just not there. And you're like, to me, to sit here on my bed and try to wacky tell my wiener jokes is like I'd just rather figure out how to do something else. Like my husband and I started an online store, like an e-commerce store. I've been designing onesies because I think there's going to be a lot of babies after this. So hopefully,
that's a great idea. I don't think that's a bad idea at all, April.
No,
but I know what you mean. And It's like what you were talking about earlier, the energy in the room. If there's no energy, they're not even that you don't have to hear them laughing. If you don't hear their spirit,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not the same. So it makes comedy into just ranting and a one-way conversation.
Which is not to me, it's not enjoyable. I think even like I enjoy crowd work because to me it keeps me present. It keeps the joke fresh. It feels organic, like you just thought of it off the top of your head. It's like, what am I going to do? Point to somebody on a fucking Zoom cast out of the 100 people that are like, it just doesn't. Hey, look at that guy, in the fourth row, count on 7 heads. You're like, what? This is horrible.
Hey, they have a cat. I've never even seen a cat.
Look at that guy. You're like,
they're in the kitchen.
I gotta start writing more, and I don't know what I need to do. I mean, do you think it'll come back normal style? I hope I have a career.
I don't know. We just did our 33rd month in a row at the Improv. I have a game show there at the Hollywood Improv, which you'd be great on, by the way, as a judge. You'll be a great judge. And we did, 34 in a row. And then all of a sudden, we're off the calendar, and it's really, it's disappointing. It's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. I didn't expect to cry. I didn't expect to walk by a comedy club and start crying.
Yeah, that's usually not the reaction, but it
just felt so heavy. Like you just, like I miss walking through the kitchen. I miss, like the things that go into a comedy club weekend. Like, and I think about staff. Like you think about these guys.
I think about staff too. Like, what are they doing? What's Eddie doing? I know.
Clubs that, to me, clubs where you're like, oh, that guy just bought the club from the guy who's owned it. This guy club in Tampa. It's one of my favorite clubs. Like he just bought it a year ago from the guy that's owned it since the 80s. And like, this is his first year and he has 2 kids and you got a new baby. And now how are you going to hold on? When I guess what made me sad about the Irvine Improv is I thought about their rent. You're like, for that club to be closed, I guarantee their rent's $40,000 or $50,000. I don't know what it is. I'm just taking a guess for that kind of retail space. How many months can you hold on where you're shelling out $500,000 for however many months for just 8 months of rent or 9 months of rent?
Yeah, and then how do we get back? I mean, it's all of it. It's a lot. I'm glad nobody's calling us and asking us exactly what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody's going to call me. I'm going to go garden and stare at my cucumbers, my hummingbird. For the best.
I want to see that garden cam up very, very soon.
Check out those onesies, funsiesonesies.com. This is my new
one. Wait, what's it called? Funsies Onesies?
Funsies Onesies. My husband started an online store, just this boomla to try to I feel like nobody's going to go to stores anymore, brick and mortar stores. It's all going to be e-commerce and drop shipping. And so we just started this. He started it. And then I was like, he's like, oh, you can design these things. And I was like, oh, let me design onesies. I think a lot of people are going to have babies after this. So I started something to do to not be crazy. I wallpapered back here. It's another thing I've done.
I love it. I think it's adorable. So tell me the name of the website one more time.
Funsies Onesies. Funsies Onesies. Onesies. Funsies Onesies. Did I spell that right?
I love it. Yeah, Funsies Onesies. I think it's adorable. I'm definitely going there. I'm going. Hey, April, thank you so much for joining the show today. Really, I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having me, and I'll have a good day. Have a good day. Enjoy quarantine.
All right, you guys, we got to wrap it up. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you find April Macie over there on the Twitter and the Instagram at April Macie, also on our website, aprilmacie.com. And of course, follow me over there on the socials as well at Storyworthy. And really, you guys, hang in there. I know this is a difficult time, but if we do it right the first time, maybe this thing won't come back. You know what I mean? Maybe the second wave won't be as strong if we could just, kind of stay apart. Like I heard somebody say, if we could all stay in place for 2 weeks, it would all be gone. That's not going to happen. But yeah, everybody just sit the most you can. Would you please? All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of April Macie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, sweetie. My name is Christine Blackburn saying, make it a story-worthy week. And don't forget, folks, the Story-Worthy Hour of Power is every Sunday night at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time. Check storyworthypodcast.com for more info.
Thanks for joining us on the Story-Worthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.
With Kroger brand products from Baker's, you can make all your favorite things this holiday season. Because Kroger brand's proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, Kroger brand has all your favorite things. Baker's, fresh for everyone.